If you had done this to the hood of a Corvette for the last 60 some years, you probably would have found some fire-breathing V8, but not in this brand new 2020. What you find instead is some room for carry-on luggage and a computer bag. And that's because the 2020 Corvette C8 is mid-engined. This is probably not news to you, but what is news is what's over there, the brand new C8 convertible. And today on the Fast Lane Car, we are diving in depth with the car. We're going to talk to the engineer, the designer, and figure out what makes it special. All right, well there it is. Check it out, the C8 convertible. Now if you're thinking that the hardtop already had that removable panel to make it into a convertible, well, you're kind of right, but the convertible takes it a step further because it has a retractable hardtop that will retract in 16 seconds according to GM with a touch of one button. Let's see it in action. So tell me from a design standpoint, what are the big differences between the convertible and the hardtop? I
think the biggest difference are the rear deck, where we have the air that vents out of the top and working that graphic, and then the nacelles that remain as these sculptures that house the mechanism for the top. Once the top is stowed, have it as beautiful as possible, and then as every convertible really has is this wonderful transition that the customer expects, where the outside shape flows right into the interior and they become one. So
there are several differences in design back here compared to the coupe. The first thing you notice are these haunches. These are called cells. They look like something off of a 1960s Le Mans race car, and they are so cool, very aerospace inspired. You'll also notice this unique vent back here, and that's because the whole folding mechanism actually folds kind of here into the engine compartment, and they need extra cooling for the engine. But this whole folding hardtop system only adds about 80 pounds to the weight of the C8 Corvette, which is pretty reasonable. Why the hardtop convertible? What was the thinking? Because you already have well, I should say a slight similarity with the coupe. Why do you go for the hardtop?
On the C7, people wanted the convertible to look like the coupe. They thought the coupe looked really cool. They liked the elongated greenhouse, the quarter glass. They liked the quarter vents that we put on there. Because of the top mechanism, we couldn't do that. So from the beginning, we said, you know what, the kind of old school canvas tops are kind of out now. It makes the car look kind of vintagey. And if you look at the shape, this is obviously a modern car. We didn't want to put a canvas top on top of that. We wanted the coupe to have all the visual appeal of the coupe. And then we had the opportunity to give you everything.
So as you may imagine, with the launch of the new Corvette, there's been quite a bit of buzz, and Chevy.com had its busiest month in July. And here's a fun fact: they had over 1.3 million Corvettes configured on their website, and this was by far the most popular color, this bright blue. It looks pretty awesome.
We spent a lot of time with customers. We know the ins and outs of how the previous vehicles have been developed, C5, 6, 7, what were the strengths and weaknesses, and then we always try to say, okay, what do we have to do to make the next one even better? And so we got to a point literally where we didn't know how to make it significantly better, and the only way to do it was a whole paradigm shift. We put the engine in the back, we can take, we got these massively powerful engines. The problem is getting the power to the ground, and so having 60% on the weight of the car on the rear tires, make the tires wider, and get the power to the ground, and it transforms the car, 500 horsepower and 0 to 60 under 3 seconds. It's like a miracle of physics.
One of the coolest features of this new Corvette convertible is actually back here. It's this little window, and this window can retract up and down with the top up or down. So you've got a lot of options. If you want to hear that 6.2 liter V8 roar, you can do that with the top up and down. So you were in charge of C6, C7, and C8. So if there's anyone that knows Corvette design better than anyone else in the world, it's Tom Peters here. So what is the one factor that defines a Corvette? Is there one thing that you think connects all the generations together?
I just think beautiful attitude. It just has this personality that is serious, it's aggressive, it's expressive, and beautiful.
Check this out, guys. This is something pretty special. This is the C8R, and this is the new Corvette Le Mans Racer, the first ground-up design since 1999, and you guessed it, it's a mid-engine Corvette. Looks pretty similar. Let me tell you what, it's pretty different underneath. It doesn't have an interior or much ground clearance at all, but this is your very first look at one special race car. At this point in the review, you're probably wondering what the horsepower and torque is. Well, it's the same as the coupe. 495 horsepower, 470 pound-feet of torque out of that naturally aspirated 6.2 liter LT2 V8. Now the coupe, according to Chevrolet, will do 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds. The convertible will do it in about 3 seconds, according to the Corvette team. Also worth noting, in order to get that 495 horsepower power number, you are going to have to option the performance exhaust or the Z51 package, which comes with that performance exhaust. Tell me about how you developed the convertible. What was the process like? Did you do the coupe first and then the convertible?
Well, our coupes are convertibles because the roof comes out, and that's been true really since 1984, since the 4th generation, and we've been evolving to be more and more successful. Since we designed the coupe with the roof, we don't even pay attention to the roof as a structural member. We do that afterwards. We design the whole body structure, and then we say, oh, by the way, there's a roof. Can we get anything additional out of it? But the requirements for vehicle performance are based on no roof at all.
Here on the interior, things are pretty similar to the coupe. So you still have this squared off steering wheel, the digital cluster, and this killer row of buttons here down the center. And of course, the C8 was designed to be both left and right-hand drive. Now the cool thing is, Chevrolet says that by dropping the top, you don't lose any storage capacity, which is pretty rare and pretty rad. All in all, you do get a little bit more of an open feel than in the coupe, even with that removable panel off. It's a nice place to spend time. If there's any question in your mind whether or not the convertible Corvette is significant, take a look at this. The very first Chevrolet Corvette, the C1. This one was originally designed as a convertible from the get-go. There was no hardtop model even in consideration. Convertible only. Now this one, actually, another fun fact, was initially available only with a straight six. This is called the Blue Flame Straight Six. You can tell a Blue Flame because it's got the blue painted head on the engine. A really beautiful car. It even has, check this out, the mesh on the lights. I mean, come on, guys. If you can't love a C1 Corvette, what are you doing? Is there one that you took more inspiration from than any others, like C1?
Oh, you just have to look at the C2. You know, the first Stingray, the split window, that is the holy grail, really. We've had wonderful Corvettes over the years. Each one of them has its own special magic. But I mean, I don't think anybody can deny it. That just rocked the universe.
All right, check this out. Look how you pop the front trunk on a Corvette. There's a little button underneath the driver's side vent here, and then it just pops open. And like I mentioned earlier, Chevy says you can, wow, it's actually super deep. You can hold a traditional carry-on and a computer bag all in this frontal area, which is pretty cool. But the little button is super hidden, and I love this kind of shark tooth-like design here in the front. Pretty rad. Of the C6, C7, C8, which one has been your favorite to work on?
Oh, I have to say the 2020 Stingray, because I mean, I'll tell you, I'm so honored to be part of this. When you think back, and from what I understand, Zora Duntoff's vision was to do a mid-engine version of the Corvette. So to be cognizant of the work that's gone on from that point through the 50s, 60s, 70s. I was involved with at least 2 versions of some mid-engine concepts. I mean, I knew this would translate beautifully, so that was not a worry at all. I knew it was going to happen.
You worked on the old concepts too.
Mm-hmm. Wow. The Corvette Indy, and then there were a couple of ones that never really went to full size or went public. But I knew in my heart, and just from experience, that there was not going to be any issue with Corvette translating to mid-engine, and I think you would agree with me that you see the proof of it.
Did you learn anything from those old?
Oh, absolutely.
Did you? Yeah.
Proportion. You know, to me, the most difficult or the most challenging area of a mid-engine vehicle, I would say, is that probably the last third of the door through the center of the rear wheel. Okay. That is the car, when you think of it.
Now you're probably wondering at this point, what are we doing here at Kennedy Space Center talking about new Corvettes? Well, It's actually a really interesting story because Chevrolet, and more specifically the Corvette brand, has a long history with NASA and the astronauts. And what you see behind me is a 1967 Corvette C2, completely unrestored, 390 horse, 150 mile an hour car. What's specifically special about this one? Well, it was owned by Neil Armstrong. That's right, that is his personal Corvette, or was his personal Corvette. C7, you were on C6, right?
I was assistant chief engineer on C6 and C5.
And C5. So if anyone knows what a Corvette is, it's you. You know the DNA, but I think the question is going forward, starting with the C8, what makes a Corvette a Corvette? What's the secret sauce?
Well, it's a road-going private jet for two, you know, 2 passengers, first class seating, and you know, it's that driving experience is what a Corvette is. It doesn't matter if the engine's in the front or the back, it's that intimate driving experience, whether it's just you in the car, you and a passenger in the car. If you're not taking more than 2 people, you don't need anything but a Corvette. It's got plenty of luggage room. My wife and I, she had horses, and we used to pull up at a feed store, and we'd buy 300 pounds of grain, and they'd come out with a fork truck on a pallet, and they'd say, "Where's this going?" It's like, the Corvette. Right. And in prior generations, even in this generation, it's got so much load carrying capacity, you can put everything in.
Now for the stuff you want to know, because the Corvette convertible is more expensive than the coupe. The coupe starts at about $60,000. The convertible is going to add about $7,500 to that price tag. The base cost, according to Chevrolet, is going to be $67,495 if you want the top to go down, and they're going to start building them early next year. As always, this is Tommy with the Fastlane Car. Go back to tflcar.com for more news, views, and real-world Corvette convertible reviews.